God bless everybody. Today is October 4th of 2023. There's a number of interesting stories in the news that you need to be aware of, and then we're watching a massive ramp up on the Kurds by Turkey. So let's get into all these stories and show you what's going on out here. So tomorrow, or today actually, excuse me, I'm losing track of days. We have this warning that they're going to do a national emergency test. It's going to be on everything, radios, phones, TVs, you name it. You're not going to get away from it. It's going to blare at you at 1:30 Central that they're going to do this massive test as we're watching basically this economy collapsing in front of you. The bonds are moving up. The dollar strength is destroying global currencies. And we're watching an implosion right now of the Chinese bond market. So due to all this, they're warning you for a reason. You have an imminent potential threat of nuclear war in Russia and Ukraine. You've got all kinds of stuff going on. But I just wanted you to realize that there's this major event happening today. I don't know if it leads to anything. Everybody thinks it's catastrophe. I just think they're prepping us for something to come in the future. But that is at 1:30 today, and so we need to be aware of that. The other story that I wanted to let you know is that we have this Ring of Fire solar eclipse on October 14th. That's right after that October 9th date that I've been talking about. And if you're not familiar with that, on my paradigm that I've talked about so many times, I have this slot between September 18th and October 9th where we'd see the ramp up, either around the 9th or right after the 9th. We would see an invasion by Turkey, or the other one that I think is more plausible is that we would see a ramp up against Israel that would force Israel to literally lash out and attack Iran in force. Just realize that on the 14th, we also have this interesting solar eclipse that's not supposed to happen again until like 2046. So it's one of those events that you're not going to see again. And it's interesting that it gives you this ring of fire look around there. And then we also talk about the ring of fire, which is on the earth, which are the tectonic plates, the volcanoes, things like that that could be affected. So that's, it's probably not anything that's going to involve a massive cataclysmic event on that specific day. It may be just a sign that we're moving into a time of distress. I don't really know. But do realize this is happening on the October 14th, and so I think you should be aware of all these different things as we move forward. So one of my jobs as an analyst is to give you the truth the best I can reveal it to you based on the information that I have, and I've shown you in great detail where all this information comes in the past videos. I'm probably the only, I know as far as I can tell, unless you can find someone else out here, my very first video was talking about Daniel 8 6 to 7 years ago, and my narrative has not changed, and I'm still talking about Daniel 8 and how Turkey's going to come in against the Kurds. They're going to force the alignment between the Kurds and Iran, and then Turkey would smash them, and then that would lead into Ezekiel 38 and 39 effect. I've been talking about this for years. My narrative doesn't change, but you'll notice that a lot of these other guys' narratives change, and it's frustrating and it's confusing to you to have, right now everybody's getting raptured, okay? But that may not happen because, well, they just don't really know when that's really going to happen, type thing. I show you on the timeline, the paradigm where that happens. I say speculatively, based on my analysis, everybody gets all date sensitive. And I also say this on this case. I hear that we cannot know basically anything, that we should just wander around in darkness and not know anything. And they allude to that we cannot know the time or the day that the Lord comes back. And then somehow that evolves into a whole broadcast that nothing can be understood. It's frustrating, number one. And it makes me actually feel like I'm on the right track because I'm getting so much pushback on these date sensitive times. Look, if you go into the Hebrew meaning of apocalypse, it means an unveiling, an uncovering, a disclosure. Look what it says, an apocalypse. In the terminology of early Jewish and Christian literature, is a revelation of hidden things given to by God to someone of his chosen saints, or still oftener, a written account. Wow, wrote it down, but I'm not, like I say, look, we all have images, we all have, dreams. Well, I'm not the only guy out here having dreams and images, okay? Or day images or whatever, okay? I'm just saying that he's unveiling this and that you will understand. As I've told you before, he'll tell you everything before it happens. You may not listen to him. You may not want to believe it. You may look at me and think, wow, how does this guy figure all this out? I don't know. He gave me images. I've talked about this. I wrote them down. I've been just documenting this stuff for years, okay? And as we walk into this next few weeks, watching Turkey basically bomb the Kurds into the ground, we have to start to wonder if maybe these dates are really coming true. And literally someone would know, someone, maybe somebody else knows. They're just not out here. I have no following. No one understands this because no one sees my information. Maybe there's someone else out here doing the same thing and they're not seeing their information, but we're trying. We're trying to warn you as good watchmen. I had that one come at me. Well, you shouldn't put all this out here because it might be false teaching. I said, well, okay, so then as a good watchman, I shouldn't basically warn you that I found this information and that it could come against you, and that if I don't warn you, then I'm as guilty as the people that came over the wall and killed or hurt these people as the people that did it themselves, because you didn't warn them. You just let them, hey, man, go ahead. Go ahead. I ain't going to say anything, man. Climb over the wall, you go right ahead. Do what you're going to do. I'll just look the other way. Sorry, man. I don't go there. I'm sorry. I won't go there. We're getting ready to war against Antichrist here. You understand what that means? Look, we have almost 4 years to endure this. And I mean endure this. I don't know how many of you are going to make it to the seventh trumpet. And I don't know the exact day or time. I'm speculating he comes back on October 2nd in 227 because it's a sabbatical Saturday, a day the East Gate could be open. He has to do it on a fall feast date. That's why everybody's looking at this year, but they're wrong because they have to look at the strong generation. Look, this is coming up, man. If you're not getting ready for this, you need to understand that. But I'm so tired of hearing about how we can't understand anything, that we just can't know anything, and that we must be false teachers if we do find something. Okay? Maybe the people that are lying to you all these years that there's going to be peace, peace, peace in Israel and it's not going to be destructive are lying to you. Maybe the pre-rapture people are lying to you, as 90% of the churches believe. Maybe Gog is the actual white horseman and it's not Antichrist, Jesus, or a history lesson, and they've been lying to you for years. I don't know if I'm right or not. I'm just saying, after 50 years of diving into this book, only the book, not using any other resources other than history, and taking these clues and building a narrative that hasn't changed over I don't know how long now, to give you this information. And I am upset right now because I'm upset that people are not seeing Daniel 8 yet. How can you see this not building upon you? Oh, I heard that one. Oh, it just can't happen that quick, and Turkey just wouldn't be crazy enough to do that. You know what? God's going to lead him into this. He doesn't have a choice. It's ordained for him to do this. He probably doesn't even know what he's doing. Okay? He would if he understood the story, but he doesn't, because God's forcing this upon them. And he's going to bring, as Ezekiel said, I'm tired of hearing this one too, the sword of God is actually going to go against his people. He indicates this in Ezekiel. Okay? It's not my words. He's going to use the king of the north against his people so that they'll bring them back to Jesus and force them to repent. Okay? It's that simple. So I want to get into a few stories here because this is ramping up and we need to watch as we walk into this emergency thing, into the 9th, into the ring of fire, as we go into December 22nd, which I keep saying is potentially a besiege on Jerusalem itself. We'll see how that turns out in the next few months. And can we allow it to play out and see if it actually occurs or not? Because that's the other thing. Oh, quit doing this. Hey, it's 3 months. If you guys can't sit back, get your popcorn out, look at this in the next 3 months, and then if this doesn't happen, then I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. My analysis was wrong. I don't believe the story's wrong. I believe the timeline is right. It may not be in this very specific 4-year gap, but I don't believe that based on how things are building up. We'll see how that works. So let's look at some stories here. So I don't need to make this I'm trying not to make this a very long video, but I do want to get some of these things out. And I do believe that, look, the churches aren't even open-minded to what I'm saying here. They're just discounting me that it can't happen, okay? I don't know if it's going to happen or not. We're going to find out real soon. But look at these stories. Turkish Defense Minister comes out and says they will continue to resolutely combat terrorism until the last one is killed. He's talking about the Kurds, man. I've been talking about an invasion. He's going to go in soon. Look at that. He's cleansing his areas right now. He's arrested 1,000 people. They had one bombing. 2 guys blew themselves up. But 1,000 people now have been arrested, and he's cracking down on all kinds of Kurdish groups, and they're bombing. I noticed they just had a third bombing, or a second or third bombing, where they hit like 19 more targets overnight. Turkey's inflation's topping 60%, so he's going to have no choice but to go to war. Wow, it's amazing that all this is lining up so well. God does an interesting thing, and he does line things up in his time, not ours. And it's a whirlwind in Daniel 8. This is going to happen so fast, you guys will never even understand what's happening if you don't understand this. You know, he's threatening to leave the EU. They're just not, Turkey's not happy, man. He's going to go, and we're going to see something else happen. The Kurds are going to push back. He's literally bombing them in the ground right now on the fronts, okay, in both Syria and Iraq. So all these stories are affecting you here soon, okay? And you can go out here. There's a lot of chatter and news about Turkey and the PKK right now, which are the Kurds. So this is a good one. Now, he had originally struck like 20 targets. Now we're hitting more targets. We're hitting caves, energy structures. Okay, he's going to break this country down before he invades, and he's doing a massive job of this through his bombing. And he's also waiting for those F-16s. He wants those weapons of war before he actually breaks off. So he's hit 16 more targets. This just happened the last few days. I saw today, I believe they've hit more targets. The Kurds are going to push back here for long, and so this is going to start just ramping up, and it's getting out of hand. And you guys can go look this up. Just I'm not a big one on Google, but whatever search engine, Firefox, whatever you're using, just Google. It's terrible. You can just Google it. You're not on that channel. Turkey, PKK, or Kurds. This was an interesting article, I thought, because this is out of the Kurdish regional capital that I've been talking about, which is Gaugamela, which is going to be a war or battle that's fought as Turkey gets that way and pushes the Kurds towards Iran. We're going to see those two align. You're going to see a massive battle in Gaugamela, and so this is extremely important. Like I say, all this has happened over two armed guys that has blown themselves up around Kara's um, ministry. And Turkey's done. He's talked about leaving the EU. He's been doing this for 40 years, trying to get in there. He's not going to allow that to get in his way at this point. So just realize all this is happening. I believe we are going to see a lot of activity over here. So just keep an eye on this. And I'll just throw this last article down. Barron's is basically saying that Turkey is saying that this threat is coming from Syria and Iraq, and they are going to eliminate this threat no matter what it takes. They're going to expand this operation, and this is going to then have pushback on the other side. So everybody just thinks, well, Turkey's going to go in. Well, the Kurds are going to push back. I'm telling you, the Kurds are going to push back hard. And when Turkey comes in with an actual invasion, they're going to try to cut them off, and the Kurds fail at that, and they fall back towards Erbil, and that allows Turkey to go down into Lebanon, as I've been talking about for some time now. And this is what I've been talking about. This is the last article I'm going to post. They're talking about hitting power stations and infrastructure owned by the militants in the neighboring countries as legitimate targets, says the foreign minister. And this is actually a picture of the bomb blast in Ankara by the parliamentary building. And so if you think, look, he's eliminating all opposition to his movement coming up. That's what the 1,000 people were arrested over two guys blowing themselves up. Do you not think he's not cleansing his area so that he can get ready for a massive invasion and no pushback on his side? And look, he's a dictator. Why would you arrest 1,000? You can't tell me the networks. I mean, yes, it's probably a massive network over there, but really? So you knew all these people before or something, and so now 1,000 people have been arrested in the last few days over this one terrorist act. There's a lot more going on here, people, than you realize, and yes, God is going to carry this out in his time. He's going to carry it out, and nothing will stop him. And God's capable of doing anything in a blink of an eye if he wants to. Wow, a concept that we can't seem to wrap our head around. So I'm sorry I'm a little frustrated today. I'm sure this is a little more fiery video than you normally expect from me, but in general I'm sort of this way, so maybe you ought to get used to that. I'm frustrated because no one sees Daniel 8, and this thing's going to hit him hard, and it's going to hit him really quick, and we're probably going to give him F-16s to help Erdogan do his thing. Maybe God will, God controls everything. I keep telling you. Well, when I say, they'll give him the F-16s because God will, it's because God will want it to happen. Do you understand? He will give him the F-16s because he will use that against these people in judgment. It's just that simple. We're a bad player here too. We're throwing weapons all over the place. So why would he not judge us too? And you got to watch Erbil because we got a green zone over there, and we have also we've been bringing more and more people over here that are in harm's way, and I've been talking about how they just need to get our people out of there, but they're not going to do that because they don't care anyway. They're going to put these people in harm's way, and I keep talking about you're going to potentially watch a draft come up in the near future in the next year or so as we walk into multiple wars and different things like that. That will be determined on what happens here into December in the first part of January, where I think that 6 seal event occurs, and how that will then affect the structure of this country. That 6 seal event is going to affect a lot. So how is it going to affect us? Even though it's basically radiating from Israel, it's going to affect the whole globe, and so we will be affected, and God will remove all hurdles in his way at that moment in time before he allows those trumpets to go off. God bless everybody. Find the open door. You better find Jesus. He is the only way through this gate. It's just that simple. If you haven't found him, and the Jews need to find the true Son of God also, Jesus, to Save them through the judgment that's coming upon Israel as we move forward. God bless. Have a great day. This is going to get crazy soon.